Today's show is all about Black History Month. I'm going to share with you a number of different ideas you might not have any clue about. They're very personal to me. I'm going to share with you some home truths that nobody knows, because that's going to help you to get better connections with friends, family, colleagues, employees, and most of all, with yourself. Strap yourself in. I'm going to get really honest now. This is Speak on Stage. Welcome to Speak on Stage with Dave Crane, the podcast where we unpack the art and science of public speaking to help you command the stage with confidence and authority. I'm your host, Dave Crane, and as a seasoned speaker, coach, and entertainer, I've had the privilege of helping thousands of individuals like you to unlock their true potential on stage all around the world. Each week, we'll bring you candid conversations with industry experts, successful speakers, and thought leaders, delving into proven strategies, practical tips, and personal anecdotes to empower you to become a captivating communicator. So whether you're a seasoned pro looking to refine your skills, or a beginner taking your first steps onto the stage, this podcast is your go-to resource for mastering the craft of public speaking. So grab your notepad, open your mind, and get ready to amplify your impact as we embark on this journey together. Welcome to Speak on Stage with Dave Crane. Together, let's jump and grow wings on the way down. So welcome back. Today, I want to talk about Black History Month. Now, I know that I'm doing it for the UK, Black History Month, and I'm based in Dubai. And I'm also aware that when it comes to talking about it in the US, it's in February, and I think Canada as well, Australia, various places. But for me, I'm going to address it on behalf of being a Brit. So it happens in October. And one of the things that happens being an expat overseas is not only sometimes you not know which country you belong to, I know I'm British, but also where you identify with. So that is something that's at the heart of what I want to share with you. Not because I don't know who I am, but because the insights I will share with you and the truths I will give you will help you to understand who it is you deal with in your workforce, with your staff. It might be that your partner is of a different nationality. Certainly, it might be that your partner is of a different gender or from a different part of the world. But there's lots of conversation and things that you might not know. If you have a more diverse workforce, you're able to sell better to different people, have different ideas, out-of-the-box thinking, connecting with market trends, insights, history, and things that you couldn't even contemplate, which allows staff to then have a deeper relationship. It also attracts new staff to your company because they hear about how great you are to work with. And also, it positions you as a go-to person when it comes to customers, clients, suppliers, and so on, because you've got a number of different people all out-facing and reaching a different part of a community. It makes smart business sense because then your staff also stay with you longer, because when we take a look at what your company's like, we can see it's diverse, so therefore it's open to mindset and open to the opportunity to grow who joins us. So that's one of the reasons to consider what I'm sharing with you today. Plus there's a tons of other things that we'll find useful from my side and your side to be able to embrace it. So it's Black History Month, and as such, it's really interesting to see that I never get called to speak about it. Why? Because where I live in Dubai, there's a big black community, and I'm not really in it. Now, here's the thing about it. I'll talk about it a little bit more. I'm actually mixed race. So my father was white, British. I'm completely British. I've lived in the UAE for about 30 years. And my mother's black from the West Indies, British citizen, obviously. Came across, met in the 60s. I interviewed my mum a little while ago when I went back to the UK for summer. And I asked her a lot of questions about how they met and what the community was like and everything. And it was really tough. Both sets of communities, the black community and the white community, turned around to both of them and said, it's not going to work if you two get together. We can't help you. We're not going to deal with you. There was jealousy, there was stabbing in the back, there's not literally, but lots of really difficult things that made them have to live on their own. And one thing that they said is we're going to empower our children to be much stronger because of the experiences that we've had. Now, I'm going to share one thing with you, which I'm not going to talk about ever again, is I'm not close to the rest of my family. I'm not close to my sisters. Whatever experience I'm going through, I'm going to share with you. It was clearly something that was powerful for them. They can only speak about themselves, about their own experiences. But I have no doubt that what I'm going to share with you, they've got their own spin in it. And anybody you know of color has had to go for a number of things that if you're not of color, you won't know. But if you are, you'll go, wow, okay, yeah, that's just the same as me. Now, when I say of color, I'm not just talking about black people, I'm talking about all nationalities. You might find it. And I found this when I went to live in the West Indies on holiday, maybe about 30 plus years ago. I went out there to visit families and cousins, and I've got a huge group of family out there from my mum's side, and they were lovely. But I found racism. They said, you're British, you're not West Indian. Who do you think you are? I was like, what? You're not allowed to do that. You meant to say, welcome home. But it's just strange how it exists in places in ways that you might not even consider. So let's get into this because I want to share some stuff with you. So as we talk about Black History Month, welcome to Speak on Stage, the podcast which helps you to be able to speak on stage and have effective communications and grow your personal brand to then be able to make more money, connect more people, and have a happier life. If you aren't watching or listening to all the podcasts, they're available in lots of different places, just like Spotify, iTunes, blah, 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 and YouTube. All you have to do is just go on and subscribe, and then you'll be bombarded with really cool episodes just like this one. This one's just fresh off the internet. I don't know, fresh off something, fresh out my head. That's what you get. So welcome to Speak on Stage. That's the official stuff. So today I'm going to talk to you about the truth. I don't lie about stuff. And the reason I don't lie is because I've always said this whenever I do a live stage keynote, is at the time of doing something and sharing something with you, I always tell you what my truth is, because apparently it takes 15 lies to cover up each lie, and each of those lies will take another 15 lies. I'm not smart enough to keep tabs on everything, so I'd rather be transparent, tell you everything that's going on, and then find out later I was wrong and change the way I think about it, and apologize if I see you, and say I was way wrong, but at the time I'm telling you exactly what I believe. There's no spin on it, it's exactly what it is. But I'm also going to share with you, as I did promise at the beginning of the show, things I'd never told anyone ever before until now. So if you're listening to a podcast, then listen carefully. If you're watching it, then, I don't know, watch carefully. Same kind of thing. All right. So I also want you to ask yourself similar questions that I'm asking myself as we go along. Here's the thing about doing a podcast, especially when you do your own shows. It's great to interview people. You get to find their spin on stuff. But sometimes when you do a show like this, you get to realize things about yourself that maybe you hadn't asked yourself about. And you get insights that help you to grow as a person and learn more. And one of the things I love about doing this is I'm now heading towards my next birthday, which is literally in about a week's time. And I'll be almost 60. So I've put in a fair amount of time in this industry, and I want to go back in time through my timeline to share some stuff with you. Now, it doesn't matter what age you are. I think you'll find some value that will reflect who you are and what you're doing. And that noise there says that my phone is still on. Yes, Dave, it is. I know, but what can you do? It's a live show. It's all it is. Okay, so you know who I am, Dave Crane. But did you know that that's not my real name? What do you mean? Well, let me explain. It is Dave. Okay, I'll get. So Dave Crane is this. So that's what you see, and that's what everybody knows me as. Dave Crane does telly, radio, blah, 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 all these other kind of things, which is fine. But what you don't know is the level of imposter syndrome that Dave Crane had to deal with after the pandemic. What do you mean imposter syndrome, Dave? You're surely happy in your own skin knowing who you are. Well, here's how it works. So actually, when it comes to who I am, I'm a different person than that. And everybody is. That version of me there is the social media version of me, the one that everybody knows in public. Now, imposter syndrome exists in everything you do. Something like 92% of people have imposter syndrome. And I'm guessing that the other 8% who don't claim to have imposter syndrome are probably a little bit psychotic anyway. So they have no doubts about who they are because they're too busy thinking about ways to be serial killers or whatever else that choice can be. Now, I know psychologists are listening and going, Dave, that's not how it works. Just bear with me. We're doing a show. My show. Okay, so imposter syndrome basically says that every time you want to do something and step up to the mark and say, this is me, there's a voice inside your head that says you're not good enough. That's embedded in you from a very early age. So that imposter syndrome tells you maybe it's from school where a teacher sort of laughs at you for saying something stupid, or your friends ignore you or say negative things about you or pick on you, or your parents were really destructive when you were going through your childhood and not supportive, or they were overpowering or maybe even violent. But there's a load of things that come through your life where you hear no, 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 or it's not, or you're not good enough. So later on in life, when you're really out there and you're saying, right, I want to go for this job, this is what I want, that voice in your head says you'll never get it. Or you see somebody and you find them really attractive and you say, that's the one for me. And that voice in your head says they'll never be interested in you because of imposter syndrome. And everybody feels it at some point, unless you're which, if you're listening to the podcast, was me doing an imaginary dagger from Psycho, stabbing somebody in the shower. Let's not go there beyond this, but the point is still there for the analogy. So basically, everyone's got a level of it. So how does it affect you? Well, I did promise you that Dave Crane wasn't my real name, but it is a fabrication name. My original name is David Maxwell Crane, and there's me, full name, with dad and mum, and that cushion with a face on it, that little one mum's cuddling, is me. Okay, so that's me 8 million years ago when the world was actually in black and white. And I know that you can't see the picture, which is going to be disappointing for this particular podcast, because you can do that giggly thing that everyone else does, which is, oh, look at him, he's so cute, look at the little dimples, whatever. So there's me with more dimples that you can't see on the audio podcast. And my specialist subjects, as it says there, included giggling and engaging with people. My mom always used to say to me that if I was on the bus and I started laughing, everyone started laughing as well. So even from a very early age, I understood the feedback loops of doing stuff that other people would be engaged in. And that was at the heart of my entertainment career and probably the stuff I did throughout my entire life, even starting as young as that. And you might say, that's tentative, Dave, but yeah, but you got to draw a through line all the way. You can't read life forward, but you can read it backwards. And so history does leave clues to help you establish who you are and what you do. In fact, I was going to explain to you about my timeline, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to give you some choice stuff from what I've done throughout my entire life to explain it. So I've had a core wound, as many people do, throughout my entire life that I've been fighting. And I wasn't really aware of it until the pandemic came along. And like many people, I ended up suffering from depression and anxiety as I hadn't worked as an entertainer or as a speaker for about 2 years because there were no gigs. I'd done stuff online. I was helping people with my Industry Icon program, which I put together to help people learn to be celebrities. But when it came to actually pitching for gigs and speaking and so on, it was really difficult to dig deep into myself and say, I'm great, I'm still great, because I didn't think I was, because I just haven't spoken. And you've got an ecosystem that you build up, which means that when you go on stage and the feedback that you get makes you feel good, so you don't have to do it all the time. You just need to get that time. It's the same as people who do sports or go to the gym or cook or meditate. There's a part of you that needs to switch off into a different side of you to support the work side of you, if that makes sense. So with that, I realized I had a lot of challenges I had to be able to get over. And the core wound came out, which is that I really was worried about who I am because I'd been fighting to establish who I am. Let me explain a bit more about that. Here's a picture of me. It's not really me. It's one that was drawn by ChatGPT. But there's a picture of me. I'll make it a little bit bigger so you can see it more effectively. Little brown kid, about the age of 3, living in Stockton in Teesside in the north of England, going around to play with all my friends, and guess what happened? The mum turned around and said, you can't come in, and wouldn't let me through the gate. Why? Well, I'm not going to say she was a racist. It's unfair to say she was racist because in those days, in the 70s, everybody was a bit. In fact, even nowadays, people are a bit racist. But they're not racist necessarily to harm you or want to be destructive about your life or your success. It's just being able to understand that you are different. And everybody is different, thank goodness. So at a very early age, I was locked out of this gate. Everyone went into play and I was sent home. Well, I wasn't sent home. I just walked home on my own. And the mom, bless her, she decided that's what she needed to do because she wasn't comfortable with her kids playing with black kids or black kids coming into her house or whatever it is. I didn't realize that this was an issue until I did a hypnosis session, maybe about 8-9 years ago with a friend of mine. And this stuck out And I was like, well, where's that come from? It was very vivid to me. And I realized that from that point on, I've been constantly fighting to establish myself, but at the same time, stopping myself from being exposed by having a gate shut on me. That might not make sense yet, but it will as we continue this story. So this is a story about legacy. This is a story about my legacy, but also I think you'll find it really relevant to you as you build up your life, your career, your family. You choose to decide where you're going to go, and you look back and try and make sense of the things that have happened in the past. Legacy is something like when you do it effectively, it's not something that you leave behind when you die, but it is something that you leave behind when you die if you've done it properly. But you can actually do it in real time right now. So what you're building is something you can monitor and be part of and certainly benefit from having because you build your legacy during your lifetime. I hope that makes sense. I'm going to explain to you a little bit more as we go and also show you some ticks. Yeah, some ticks. Scratchy, not ticks. Tricks and techniques, he said, putting his teeth back in, that'll really help you to be able to work out what you need to do and how to speed up that whole experience to have a much better life. I've got something that'll really blow your mind in a little bit. Okay. So my imposter syndrome gave me two big questions. First issue is this: am I worth anything? If I'm being, as a child, shut out, and you don't think yourself as a child, you just think yourself as you, and the world is full of gods, which I'm not knocking your religion, but all parents are gods to small children. So if my next door neighbor's mum, who's an adult there to protect me, turns around and closes the door on me, what am I worth? And how can I prove it to myself and the world that I've had a life that's worth something? Now, when you're small, you don't think about these things. You just get on with it and you try and work out what's the best way to move forward. And it's more like survival mode than anything else. What's going to make my friends like me? What's going to make other people like me? What will stop the noises that make me feel bad happening more and more? So with that, there's a second issue I had to deal with. What is the currency of success? If I'm going to work out who I am and what I am, and work out to share the world in who I am and what I am, what do they need to see to prove that's true? Is it going to be money? Is it going to be love? Is it going to be fame? Is it going to be contracts from people saying we want you? This is long before influence, long before social media. We had established media in the UK, which in those days was 3 TV channels and a couple of radio stations. Radio 1, your local radio station. Radio 1 was a national radio station, which played pop music. And then you had 3 TV channels. That was it. That's the only way, plus a couple of newspapers and magazines, which were all national, to prove who you are. The landscape is completely different now. So I grew up with that landscape in mind. What's the currency of success that you need to have? So here we go. I'm going to dig deep with a question for you. What does society value most? Now, if you've paid attention to previous podcasts, you'll be very aware of the answer to this one. I'm going to give it to you because it's a really powerful thing that you might not be aware of. You might say, oh, it values money and it values success and it values, fame, fortune and influence and all the rest of it. It's really simple, the answer, and you'll understand when I share it with you. This is what it values: status. Now, status can be broken down to 3 different areas. The status game that everybody plays, or almost everybody plays, is this: dominance, success, and virtue. How much do you dominate what you talk about as an industry? How successful are you to prove that you've done well? And also, do you stand by what it is you share with everybody? Are you virtuous? So for instance, dominance would be like Lionel Messi or Cristiano Ronaldo in football or soccer, as our American friends call it. They're the best in the world, bar none, and you can see that in the evidence of what they've achieved throughout their entire lives. Now, success would be maybe Elon Musk, richest man on the planet. The money's there, it proves who he is. It proves how successful he's been. Don't say Lex Luthor, but the money's there and the tech is there. And when he decides that he wants to create something, you can see that is a really smart guy who's putting most of it together. Then you've got virtue. What's virtue? Well, when somebody sticks by their guns, so you're talking about people like, not Elon Musk, you're talking about something like Michelle Obama, for instance, who she won't lie. She'll just tell you exactly what her truth is, even if it's embarrassing for other members of the family, like the husband. Or the Pope, who will just tell you the old way of doing things by the Catholic Church is not the way that he wants it to be in the future. And it should all change and catch up. like their attitude to gay people, for instance, which is completely different, which is fascinating to see. So therefore, you trust them more than ever before. Now, you can display this. You can go up with your status game by showing more warmth to people who are trying to learn on the way up, sharing your expertise with as many people as you can do to help them to grow too, and also being sincere. That means you can turn around and say, I was wrong before, but I'm right now. But if things change with that, then I'll tell you as well. So that's what you do to position yourself as being really successful in what you do. And I've learned this in the last couple of years, and that's why I share it with people as well. So this is me at school. See if you can see which one's me. I'll give you a clue. Third row down, which is second row from the front. At the back there, second on the left as you look at it, I think, or on the right. The brown guy. Okay, the brown guy. That was me. And that's my school photo where I grew up in Barassi Primary. And I'm blessed to say that about 30-40% of the people in that picture I've actually connected with at some point on Facebook. We don't talk a lot, but it's nice to see that we've still got some kind of communication, which is nice. So that was me growing up in Scotland. I say, before I do any of this stuff, is jump and grow wings on the way down. This was my philosophy on how to be successful in life. I didn't realize it was my philosophy until I started writing books and looking at what my signature message would be before I helped people to work out what their signature message is. So jump and grow wings on the way down. Take calculated risks. If you think you can do it, jump into it and see how well you go. And don't do it if you've got no idea, or don't take on battles you know you could lose. I don't do that either. I don't say, that's a brave attempt, let's get in there. Oh, I look like an idiot. No, I don't do that. I don't mind looking like an idiot, but only if I get something wrong and I'm proud to say I gave it my best shot. So jump and grow wings on the way down is my theme tune, my theme meme. And when people talk to me and say, what do you do? I can say to them, I help people to jump and grow wings on the way down. This is important because then when I talk about the rest of the stuff, then you'll understand how this fits in with you. And you'll also be asking your own question about who am I and what do I do and what's my own signature message. So with that, I went on to do stuff at Barassi Primary in Troon and Ayrshire in Scotland. I took part in lots of plays and I really threw myself into it. My mum and dad gave me piano lessons. I didn't do much of the piano lessons. Can't play piano to this day, but I was a pretty good singer at the time. You can see me just there, even in a black and white photo, see the chimney sweepers is Mary Poppins. We weren't that poor in the picture. We were all dressed as chimney sweeps. And that was me. I don't know if I had a line. I'm just singing in the chorus at that point. Went on then to do some other stuff. I think this is still Mary Poppins. Oh no, this is Peter Pan. There you go. I'm probably wearing the same clothes as I wore in the other picture. Let's have a quick look. No, I'm actually older, believe it or not, but it's true. I'm wearing jeans in that one. And this white shirt, so black and white picture. So that's me, actually over 50 plus years entertaining on stage around the world. And that's me taking part. So entertainment was in my blood. In those days, also, this is us doing Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, which is a famous play by Andrew Lloyd Webber and Tim Rice. And at that time, there's me dressed as Elvis, or the Pharaoh, I think a character was called, who sang Elvis songs. And I went on to take part in a talent competition, a nationwide talent competition in Scotland. I think it's called Stars in Their Eyes. I'm not sure for definite because it was 8 million years ago. And I came second amongst all the adults. And I'll say to you that I came second, not because I wasn't good enough to win, but because the guys who were organizing it, who I completely understand, Archie McCulloch, who is a legend in Scotland in those days on TV and all sorts of stuff in those days, they needed a star they could take on the road. And with me being 11 years old at school, there's no way that I could be the star because I could do a couple of shows and that's it. I've got school to go to, so somebody else won. It's not sour grapes, I don't care. I'm more than over it. And there we are. So throughout my entire life, I've been trying to fit in. There's me, dressed as a spaceman. For some reason, my parents got me a space outfit, and I actually got to speak at NASA, which is amazing. There's me in my school uniform, and there's me with my hair short, my flat top, which was always a bad idea, but at the time I didn't know that. Just going off to university to study law. Long story, cutting it short. There's me scoring a goal playing for Troon Thistle, which is my football team when I grew up in Scotland, in Troon. Yeah, you got that bit. And you can see me. How many black kids are there? There's only one. Which one? The one scoring a goal. I'm not saying I scored lots of goals or I was a really good player. I will tell you, though, it was a challenge being English and playing in Scotland. That was a difficulty. It wasn't a black thing so much. It was more about being English. That's a long story. And if you're English or Scottish, you'll understand. For everybody else, forget I said that. Let's move on. Okay. So then, when we moved to England, I was the chairman of my sixth form committee. I was in charge of about 300 students, which is quite an achievement, really. You can see me there, flat top again. What was he thinking? Don't talk about it. Leave it there. And so I got to look after a load of students, and I got to be a decision maker and sit with the teachers and the parent governors when we had big meetings. And that was my first big taste of responsibility. But it cost me. I'll be transparent and honest here. Because I enjoyed the challenges of being on a committee, I really didn't bother outside my social life. I was organizing parties and nightclubs. I was an event organizer. And then when it came to do my A-levels, I reluctantly did them. I didn't really enjoy them, didn't really like the school system anyway. And I got 2 A-levels that scraped my way to law school. And I didn't finish my law degree. I'm just sharing that now because it's true and transparent. I didn't particularly enjoy being there. I met some amazing people in other courses and some people in my law course, so it's cool as well. But I went on then to leave the university in Essex, and a friend persuaded me, that's another story, to go and become a full-time entertainer. Because remember, that had been in my history all the way through. I only took law, this is the truth. I took law because I wanted to make my parents happy. Now, there's a thing that you'll understand here. And maybe it's an insight you've never come across before. There's a thing called second-generation Holocaust syndrome. So when you see somebody who's survived some kind of Holocaust or some kind of really horrible thing that's gone on, like we're facing in the Middle East, like we're facing in Eastern Europe at this moment in time, people who survive that, generally their children have to face something, which is how do we establish that this will never happen to us again? And what they do is they work really hard to make sure their kids are part of a middle class, so they never get excluded without finances or the ability to be able to save themselves should something hit their country in a really tough way. And so to explain that, second-generation Holocaust syndrome, for me, my background is my father was the son of 2 German Jewish refugees who escaped from the Second World War, lost all their family, everybody. Some went to different parts of the world. And so the generation were working really hard to make sure their kids had good jobs. And so I agreed to become a lawyer, not because I wanted to become a lawyer, but lawyers, doctors, anything that's got a big load of studying and was a middle-class, well-paid job would mean that your parents are happy. And so that's why I took it. So that explains it. You might have that yourself, or you might understand it even a little bit better as a direct result. So I dropped out of law and became a full-time entertainer. Yes, that's me there with my arms out, embracing it and showing you my dental work. There you go. Don't you see that picture again? Came back from that, worked for the BBC because of the work I'd done in radio and hospital radio and all the stuff I'd done. And there we are working for BBC Cleveland, even though Cleveland doesn't exist anymore. It's Teesside, apparently. And I don't know if BBC Radio Cleveland exists in any way, shape or form because it's been 30 years since I looked into it. But there's me and Tony Fisher on stage. And if you're listening to it as a podcast, it's still true, but you just can't see the picture. There we go. Look at those legs. Goodness me, we've not been that thin for a long, long time. No belly. Oh, hey, look at that. Okay, so moving on there. And there's me winning Blind Date on UK TV. 20 million people. Blind Date, the dating game. There's another story to be shared with that. And you can see the girl I'm with there who hated me, but we're friends now. Only friends. And on the other side is Jason Orange. Dominic Orange, who's a brother of Jason Orange from Take That, who was on the show, on the Christmas show. It's a long story. I won't bore you with that, but that's another thing about the Blind Date stuff. So I'd gone on to establish myself as an entertainer, but never getting the break I wanted to, not knowing what was driving me to have to entertain and get famous. I know now, which is what I shared with you at the beginning of this show, that imposter syndrome, being turned away as a little child, not being allowed through the gate to play with my friends. I felt I had to establish my status, but I didn't know that was what was happening. Subconsciously, below the surface, that was what was happening. So if I'm talking to you about subconsciously, let me explain to you about how subconscious works. I'm going to see now if I've got a picture. Okay, that's near enough to it. That'll do. So here's an iceberg picture, okay? So if you imagine that's how your brain works, on the surface, everyone goes, wow, that's great. That's an iceberg. Look at that. But underneath, there's loads more stuff that goes on that people don't know about. And often you don't know about it because you're too busy working to even think about what impact it has. So does that make sense a little bit about how your mind works? It's a really good, if you're listening to the podcast, go to Google and look up the iceberg illusion, and you'll see what I've just shared with everybody. And everybody else, you can still go and look for it anyway, because there we are. All right, so going back to this original image of Blind Date, I got the chance to be shortlisted for a couple of TV shows, which were in those days, Don't Forget Your Toothbrush. There was some breakfast show. The breakfast show was a big breakfast. Don't Forget Your Toothbrush, MTV, and The Clothes Show. I was shortlisted for them, but you had to send a VHS video. I'm trying to find some. Oh, this is a good example. This is my book, Thought Leaders Playbook. See how thick that is? That's about the same as a VHS video that you'd have to send in a post, because you didn't have internet in those days. You only had snail mail. So you'd put something in a post, and it was just like throwing it down the street. You might never see it or hear from it again. Hopefully, British Post Office will be able to get it to the person, but it will be weeks, maybe months before you hear anything back. And to be honest with you, I didn't hear anything back for ages. And by the time I did, it was shortlisted from those 4 people, said, we're very interested. But then 3 months after that, after a few auditions for one, which was a clothes show, which, as you can tell by my fashion, I wasn't very good at, they all turned around and said, thanks, Dave, but no thanks. So it left me kind of hanging, because I thought, well, what else can I do but go on a reality TV show, win it to prove my worth? And during that time, my friends at the BBC sacked me. When I said, look at me, I'm on that Christmas show, how good is that? They said, we really would not like that. We're going to put you somewhere else, like out the door, and you can find your own way. Was it racism? You work it out. So I worked really hard to prove how good I am, because I wasn't getting promotions. I was still a freelancer. I'd been for about 20 different auditions to get a job with the BBC, that were for jobs for people of colour, and I still wasn't getting the opportunity. And then I get sacked when I prove how good you would think they'd turn around and say, Dave, that was great, you've done really well, we need to promote you. No, the opposite happened. I'm not bitter about it. I'm trying to work out what was going on in my life to be able to help you. And if you're just tuning in, you're going, Dave's whining. I'm not. This is Black History Month in the UK. I want to share with you my story, so hopefully you can find some stuff of value for yourself too. So anyway, at that time, I was also working with the Prince's Trust. That's me and Prince, or now King Charles. And a lovely letter that was sent to me from King Charles, Prince Charles in those days, saying, Dave, love your work with crime, not actually committing crime, but that's your work, helping young people to be able to establish themselves and find a new career, blah, 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 all the stuff that you do when you want to score some points. So that was it. I was doing well, but not doing well enough, because I just wasn't getting the break. And in the end, I gave up. I went to live in Dubai. I took a job on the back of the fame of doing national TV with the Blind Date show. I got a job DJing in a bar in the Marriott Hotel. It was a 5-star hotel in Dubai, and that's where I got my first chance. But I had to leave all my friends and family behind, and it's been 30 years now, and many of them are not my friends and well, still family, but many of them are not around anymore, or I lost contact with many of them. And it's just life, it does that. What risks would you take? Jump and grow wings on the way down, Dave? Yep, that's exactly what I said. So to establish more about that, to cut a long story short, I went on to find various successes in the things that I did. There's me interviewing James Brown. There's me launching Planet Hollywood with Bruce Willis, Sylvester Stallone, Amitabh Bachchan, and various other dignitaries and so on. There's me hosting Dubai Rugby Sevens for 20 years and overcoming tragedy, which I won't talk about tragedy, but hosting the T20 Cricket World Cup in Dubai and Abu Dhabi and Sharjah after the pandemic. There's lots of stories I could share with you, but I'm not going to go on. I train game changers to be able to speak and establish themselves and industry icon people to be the best in the world at what they do. There's us winning leadership awards for 18 years at the Rugby Sevens. We won the best sporting event in the region, beating everybody else, which is kind of cool. And there's me as a hypnotist, that's another story, hypnotizing Hrithik Roshan and Simi Garewell and various Bollywood stars. And there's me at a radio station, bottom right corner. You can't tell anyway if you're listening to the podcast. There's various pictures. There's me at the front there. During my radio career, I was on radio in Dubai for about 10 years. Established myself quite well, and then in the end I walked away. Why would you walk away? This is going to make sense. I walked away because I got to a point where I felt like I'd done what I wanted to do. I'd got the status that I hadn't got in the UK to prove who I am. And by doing that, I didn't need to do it anymore, because working in radio or any competitive industry means you've got to keep fighting. What do I need to fight? I got rid of my demons. Does that make sense? I have a chance to work with various superstars throughout my career. They see some incredible coaches and famous names and so on. And if you want to know more about the stories of me and them, then you can go and Google it and so on. And there you can see with various people there, blah, 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 and so on. I don't really want to go on about that. But I'd proven myself to do all the stuff I needed to do and reinvented. So again, showing you the pictures. I'll go back if you want to look into that. Who's that? And probably by the time you look at it, it will be really bad feedback, as in the broadcast will be so pixelated, you won't be able to see who any of these people are. Enrique Iglesias, Paul McKenna, and Mel C from the Spice Girls, various people. Anyway, so I'd gone on to do all these different things, but let's go back to an initial problem, which was that the gate had been closed on me when I was a kid. What impact would that have? Well, I've shown you the successes I'd had. Why haven't I had a breakthrough to really establish what I really wanted was to be rich and famous? Because I didn't want to be rich and famous. I just wanted to scratch that itch of saying, this is me, I am worthy. And I would find myself walking away when I needed to have somebody turn around and say, Dave, here's the gate open, come through. I didn't know this. It took a lot of time and a lot of soul searching to work out, why is it that I'm doing all right, but I want to do better? What's missing? And it was this. I walked away to avoid rejection. And what would that establish? Well, it means that whenever I got a chance to be on the top table in any industry, any work, that's not me, it's ChatGPT's version of me. And he's slightly thinner and better looking, which really annoys me. I self-sabotaged going to the top table and saying, I should be with you, because I thought because of race or because of whatever, imposter syndrome, they would say, sorry, you're not welcome here. And that's it. How can you say that with your CV, doing so many amazing things, working with lots of different people? You ask yourself that question. What are you turning down from your own imposter syndrome that you know you deserve, but you just daren't step up? Because what if people turn around and say no? You'd be devastated. I hope that makes sense. So I changed the way I looked at things. After the pandemic, I realized I had issues and I decided to reinvent myself and push myself forward. I won't talk about how I particularly did that. That's another story about how to get over imposter syndrome. Today, I just want to talk about the Black Lives Matter stuff. Black Lives Matter is a different story, actually, to talk about the Black Month history. So therefore, I stepped up and I started asking about the top table. And when you ask about the top table, what's the worst that people can say? They say no. Here's the thing about sales. When I train sales, I tell people about this. It's very important as well. When somebody turns around to you and they say, and you've worked really hard on a contract or a proposal to try and get somebody to buy some stuff from you, and they're just so close to signing, and then they go, oh, we decided to leave it. Or they say, we're going with somebody else who's cheaper. Or we've changed our mind and we're not going to do it right now. We'll reinvent and then come back. What do? Well, obviously you say, well, come on, let's have another look at it. But they look like they're adamant. The thing you do, rather than go, oh my goodness, they hate me, the world's terrible, is you just turn around and go, okay, next. And you move on. So with that in mind, I decided to reinvent myself. And when I reinvented myself, I could say next. I wasn't scared, and I'm not scared of being turned down by anybody for anything now. I'll ask, and the worst that's going to happen is they say no. But sometimes they say yes. And here's me hosting the Africa Hub at the World Economic Forum in Davos at the beginning of the year. Yes, Davos. It's also me speaking at the World Changers Summit at the Vatican with some of my dearest friends there. There's a Sir Professor Dr. Gabrielle in the center there, and lots of other people who are really big names in their industries from all around the world. I was very fortunate to speak there. And if you Google it or you look at my past episodes, you can see the performance I shared there. You can also see the fact that literally, as this is being broadcast, last week I was hosting GITEX, looking after cybersecurity and various other things, interviewing various people and so on, and I was given an award. That award was given to me by the head of UAE Cybersecurity Council, and that's Dr. Mohammed Al-Kuwaiti. That award, again, is, wow, that's establishing the fact that I am being recognized and rewarded. Think back to that little boy who got the gate closed on him. When you turn around and overcome it, you jump and grow wings on the way down, but also turn around and say, what's the worst that can happen? People go, oh, he's ready now, and they reward you for these things. Now, why does this have relevance? Let me put this in perspective. I've been ranting for a little while, for about 40 minutes now, and I want to share with you why this is so relevant and important to you, because you are probably hijacking your ability to get to where you need to be because you're worried about what other people will think, but people won't care about it. They don't care who you are, what color you are, whatever. They're not judging you. They're just saying, will they do the job that I need them to do? What's in it for me? And the job that they need you to do might have color in it. Their audience might not like that. Their audience might not like a female or a person who's got physical disabilities. But if they don't see that, then they turn around and say yes. And the only way to find out is to go ahead and ask. That's a big difference. So I'm going to share with you some insights about that, which I hope are useful. As we're doing this and you listen to the podcast or you're watching the show, I'd love your feedback. Ask questions. I'll go back and answer all your questions as always. And also, I'd love to know your comments. Whereabouts in the world are you? And what relevance does this have to you? And if you have friends who are of color, this is not a Dave Crane fluff piece. Look at me, I'm great. I promise you that's not the intention. The intention is for everybody. It doesn't matter what color you are, what nationality you are, what gender you are, whether you're going through a hard time or you know somebody's going through a hard time. I want to establish there are some things that you can do to make yourself better at what you do. Everybody should raise their game, and everybody isn't about multi-billionaire, but you can do really well and have a much more happy life. I'm going to be talking about that in a moment. So there's me mentoring speakers and stagecraft at Google HQ and doing all the stuff now to pass it on, to help other people. When you mentor people, it means that others are able to grow from your wisdom, which is why I do this podcast. I want to share with you things that will be really useful for you as well. Okay, so with that, there's me certifying people. When I work in these big organizations, if I have their senior management and leaders, I help them to be more effective communicators. Not everybody wants to speak on stage. Some people just want to be able to talk better and think differently. And all the time, I meet people who are very, very smart and very good at what they do. But the problem is they don't believe in themselves, which is why they can't talk or communicate effectively, and I help them to raise their game. They don't have to speak on conferences and big stages. They just have to be able to talk to their team with a level of confidence and self-esteem that allows them to feel better and their team to have confidence that this is the person I should be working with. Does that make sense so far? Good. Okay. And if you're interested in doing that with me, then there's a very quick QR code for you. If you just get your phone, or if you're watching this on a digital device, you can press that digital device and the QR code should take you to the website to be able to have a meeting with me about working with you and your team. And if you're listening to a podcast that's saying drat, well, nobody says drat, but if you did say drat, I go, wow, you enjoyed watching Penelope Pitstop as well and Wacky Races in the 70s. No, just me then. Go to www.speakonstage.com/get-trained-by-Dave. Or just go to speakonstage.com and it will be a pop-down menu. When you get to there, you'll find out exactly what I'm talking about. So then I can work with you or your team or both to establish yourself to be really good communicators and raise your game so you establish yourself as the best in the industry. So where's this important? What's a big takeaway for this, apart from obviously getting me to work with your team? The important takeaway is this. I spent most of my life being unhappy. Not unhappy in my days as they go, but always hungry for more and not knowing what that itch is that I can't scratch in my mind, not anywhere else. The takeaway for you is this. Choose to be contented rather than chasing happiness. When you're happy, it means you're always needing to be happy to establish it. And when you are happy, it seems normal. You can only be happy when you also have a sad day to compare it to. So you chase happy, you get sad, but sometimes you feel like a failure unless you choose contented. Now you're going to say, what? I kind of understand, Dave, but what does that mean? Let me give you a visual that allows you to understand what I'm really talking about. So this is what I established. I look at the happiness road. I was thinking about how to explain this to my daughter, Maya. And I came up with this. And this grid here, in fact, I'll make myself invisible so you can see it better. The happiness roadmap has 3 parallel lines, and it's on an X and Y axis, of which the one going up is emotions that you feel on a daily or on a lifetime basis, and the one going along the side at the bottom is the time that you have in life. And there's a wavy line to establish where your emotions are going. Now, the wavy line cuts all the way through 5 different levels of emotions. At the bottom is sad. At the bottom is angry. Above that is sad. In the middle is content. Above that is happy. And at the top is enlightened. And the point is that you can't control your emotions, but you can control where they end up. And I think you should chase being contented because you can always have contented. So you can be happy and you can have sad, but you can always go, you know what? I'm content now. I didn't get what I wanted, but I did get something. I experienced it. Not what I wanted, but enough to say, that's it. I can tick that box on my bucket list. I got what I needed to get out of it. And I realized that this is what I've been doing my entire life, looking for contentedness. And contentedness means different things to different people. Let me establish a bit more. So if we're looking at a good life roadmap, what would be a good life? If you start mapping on it, and you can put this into ChatGPT. In fact, if you message me, I'll send you the map I used for this and prompts that you need to make this happen. Now, it overlaps a little bit, so it's a bit difficult to be able to understand this. And it might be impossible for you to see it at all if you're watching it on a black and white TV, which would make it impossible anyway because it don't exist anymore. But you can see basically to have a good life, at the top of it in the happy times, you've got exploring new places, feeling fulfilled and doing things that you love. At the bottom, it's overcoming setbacks, financial or career stress. And in the middle, when you start looking at contentedness, it's things like setting things and achieving them and embracing your imperfections. Things that you go, I'm actually okay. You know what? I'm all right with that. Same as when you look at that. You look at what can I do to establish a really good life? And so contentedness allows you to then think about things differently. So, for instance, it might be that you watch TV or you watch an advert for people going on holiday and you're thinking, oh, wow, I wish I could afford to go on holiday. And you say, well, I can't afford it. I've not got the money to do it. But what I can do is I can go and get myself a drink out the fridge. So you get yourself a nice drink, some fruit juice or beer or whatever makes you happy. And you say, I'm going to celebrate by opening up and making myself a cheese toastie and putting on my favorite bit of telly. So you put on your favorite TV show that's something that you know doesn't help you in any way, shape, or form to be a better person. You sit there with your cheese toastie and you drink your beer and you go, you know what? Life's not bad. Life's actually okay. I'm content. No, you didn't get your holiday, but you didn't need your holiday. Why? Because you established that of the wavy lines that go up and down, if you can find a middle ground, then that makes you content. And that's not bad. And here's where the secret comes. If you can establish contentedness throughout your entire life, you will have a good life. Because the ups and downs can be reset if they're downs to establish a fact that, oh, it's not that bad. Or ask yourself better questions. How do I deal with it? And then you've got some great stuff. So when it comes to the end of your life, which I know you're not at now, but you can ask yourself questions in advance to allow yourself to understand what that would really mean. I want you to establish these questions. I'm going to share them with you quickly, and then you can freeze it and take a screenshot to work out what it is. Number one, did I live true to my values or just follow what others wanted? Number two, did I take time to understand my strengths, weaknesses, and purpose? Number three, did I make a positive impact on the people that I care about? Yes, on the rest of the world, but really it's reflected on the people that you care about, because if they are happy and you made an impact, the odds are that that has spilled over into other people too. Number four, did I let go of grudges and learn to forgive quite early in my life? Because if you can forgive, it means you're not carrying around hate and anger. You're going, okay, fine, that's your problem, not mine anymore. And it means you have a happier life, a contented life as well. Number five, did I find joy in simple moments and learn to practice gratitude? Did I get that cheese sandwich and that cup of tea and sit and watch TV and go, you know what? It's not costing me a lot of money, but I'm actually okay. I've got oxygen. And that sounds like a ridiculous thing to say if you hadn't experienced the pandemic when oxygen became the most important currency or ability to breathe that existed on the planet Earth. Number six, did I follow my passions and explore what excites me? Number seven, did I face my fears and step out into the unknown? Did I get outside of my comfort zone and really know what my life's about because I established myself and did things that were really wow that I didn't think that I could do? Number eight, did I contribute to something bigger than myself? When I go, did I leave little breadcrumbs or an impact on people? I remember having a conversation about this with somebody, and they said that life after death doesn't exist. And if your religious system says it does, then I'm not going to argue with that. But they said what life after death really is once you go, you left behind an idea, or you affected somebody who's then done better and they helped somebody else. And so it's like dropping a stone into a pool or into a river, and it makes a splash and the ripples go out, and those ripples are your life. You'd have to be there and you're long gone, but the ripples continue. So you did exist. It's almost like reincarnation, because your ideas, your book or your podcast or the people you helped, or the kindness you showed helped somebody who then was able to establish something which made more ripples. Does that make sense? Good. Okay. So going back to that was number 8 was, did I contribute to something bigger than myself? Number 9, did I show my loved ones that they mattered to me? Even if they don't show you love back, did you tell them that I'm here for you so you know that you've got a clear conscience? And number 10 is this. Did I create something meaningful out of everything to leave behind? So once I'm gone, do they know that I exist? If the internet disappeared, would there still be parts of you? That are there pictures? Are there stories? Is there a book? Is there a contribution you made during a certain amount of time to a football team or something like that that makes people go, oh, wow, yeah, you did. Do you remember when we had that person there? What happened? And somebody remembers your name. Now, they won't remember your name in years to come. In fact, in 500 years from now, will they remember anyone's name? You might remember a few presidents, maybe. Pop stars, unlikely. Movies, no chance. 500 years from now, there's not a single movie anyone will know or care about, even though they matter to us. So some things are so trivial. So let me just get you to take a screenshot of that. That's a full thing. I've disappeared from the picture completely. So if you're watching the subtitles and you're in your office, you say, Dave's finished the show. He hasn't finished the show. Turn the sound up. I know you can't have the sound up at work because then people see and you just read the subtitles. I'm aware of that, but we haven't finished now. So if you haven't taken a screenshot, then it's tough. So that is what I think you should look at to have a good life. So what else does that give you? Well, first of all, it's not about what happens to you in your life. It's about what you do next. I may have been turned down from the age of 2 or 3 and not allowed to play with my young friends because the mum wouldn't let me through the gate. But what did I do to react to that? I established, this long journey makes sense to me now. It didn't make sense almost any other part of the journey. I established a timeline that was all about getting status and proving who I am and finding happiness. And now the next status for me is about creating something special, financial and legacy-wise, to be able to make sure that my girls, my wife, my daughter, and my mum, if she outlives me, I don't know, are able to say, I've had a good life thanks to Dave. They might never talk to me again. We might all remarry and just turn around and say, ha ha, goodness me, I'm so glad. But hopefully that's not the case. But it won't matter to me. I won't be there anymore. So it's what happens. What do you do next? But also, I want to be able to help people to speak, to establish themselves with all the experiences I've had. I've just shown you all that stuff. It's not meant to be an audition for how good I am at doing what I do. It's to help you with these podcasts and the shows I do and the training I give and the books I write, like the Thought Leaders Playbook. This book here is not by accident. It's done to show you the entire journey and all the life lessons I had to get you to. In fact, I'm going to go one step further than that. I'm going to give you a copy, a sample of the book. So I've taught you about Jump and Grow Wings on the Way Down, which is my philosophy. So now you know the real me. This is who I am. So when you watch me on social media, or you listen to my voice, or you see pictures of me doing stuff, or you don't bother at all, but maybe it resonates in your head, you're establishing the fact that Dave Crane, wow, he's doing all this stuff, not by accident. I had to work it myself. I'm still working it, and I know you are as well, and I fully respect you. Important thing is with this as well, when you turn around, you look at somebody and say, oh, they're so lucky. No, they're not. They're still carrying the same burdens that you carry, but in a different version. Think about it. When you have a splinter in your finger, that splinter hurts more than anything else in your body until you get rid of it. And then you go, oh, I'm back to all the other aches and pains. Maybe if you're the same age as me, it makes more relevance. But you know the real me. Always give people you don't know what they have to do on their daily basis to get that smile or to get that frown to actually turn up in front of you. So who are you? I'd love to know. Connect with me. You can always join my Game Changers community or my Turbocharge Your Career WhatsApp group. Just apply. We've got a backlog of about 70 people at the moment wanting to join, but there's about 430 people already from all over the world who I'm training to be able to speak better, to brand themselves, and to do amazing things. Or you might want me to go and work for your company. But question first is, who are you? That's what you got to work through. That's why I was leading towards all that stuff with the questions and the conclusions I came to today. So if you were to break it down to 3 main questions, these are the questions for you. Question number one, not question none. Question number 1, which experience created you? Which experience established the you that's here today, or the versions of you that are here today? Question number 2, which lessons grew out of your pain when you went to work out your core wound and how to fix it. Very important, because when you work out what they are, you realize that they are superpowers and they're actually strengths. And you can even give them a name and a personality, and they can be like your best coach ever to be able to establish it. You don't have to deal with that ever again, and you can do amazing things with your life as well. And question number 3 is, what are you going to know? What are you going to do differently in the coming year, 2025? What does that mean for you? Who are you? What are you going to do to establish a happier life, a legacy, and do all the things you truly want to do? Now, I did promise to talk to you about the Thought Leaders Playbook. If somebody trying to message me, that noise that you heard earlier, or maybe it's just in my mind. I'm hearing what's up in my mind. It's what happens when you've got about 500 people all messaging at the same time. Thought Leaders Playbook is this book, that one here. And when I talk about it, it's the amalgamation of everything. It's the definitive guide to navigating the modern business landscape and positioning yourself as a go-to person in your niche. And it contains insights, exercises, and step-by-step roadmap of leader mentorship to position you as a true industry icon, and it's available for you on Amazon to buy. I'm going to give you a little sneaky sampler of it right now. And I'm really blessed. I've had some incredible people there. There's Jeff Smith, who's a KPI guy, the world's best seller on KPIs in industry, especially in the automotive industry. David Urich, who's seen as a godfather of HR. Joel Comm, an incredible visionary in digital marketing. Raymond Aaron, one of the best ever salespeople I've ever seen on stage, walk on stage and walk off with $1 million, which the audience happily gave him just because he's so good at speaking. Dr. Corey Block is a UAE's #1 business coach, dear friend of mine, an incredible guy. And Anthony J. James, who you will have come across on LinkedIn, over 4 million followers. Genius guy, really nice guy. They've all written their critique, their reviews of the book, all favorable, thank you very much. So it's worth something to you to have this book. So if you want to get your sample copy, again, QR codes, or you could go to Speak on Stage, www.speakonstage.com/playbook. And all you need to do is put in your details there, or press a QR code, and there's a little sneaky version of the book you can get to go through and enjoy. And if you like it enough, go and buy the real one, the full version, the full Monty, and get it delivered so you physically got something to carry around. Yes, it is quite big. There's about 400 pages in there, and every single one is carefully manicured to give you, as curated was a term, wasn't it? Not manicured. That means you cut its nails, Dave. Stop saying that. Carefully curated to give you everything you need. That's speakonstage.com/playbook. Start again. speakonstage.com/playbook. I should put my teeth in before I do the show. Or that QR code to be able to get your sample copy. And you're very welcome for that. And if you want me to train your team, this is the last bit there I'm going to say as a plug. That's a QR code, but you can go back earlier in today's session and you can get the full details at speakonstage.com. Get trained by Dave with lots of gaps and lots of different minuses. And look, if you want to get trained by me, watch the videos on YouTube and LinkedIn now. Okay, any questions? How I can help you? Please reach out. We're a long time dead. While I'm here with breath in my body, I'm here to help. Please feel free to connect with me and I'll help you as best as I can, as I help everybody all around the world. So that's it. Black History Month and me. What is my relevance to this? Well, I am of color. I'm mixed race, but to most people, they just see me as black. And I am inside. My favorite band is Oasis. So that will establish for you what not Luther Vandross or no, Oasis. I love Britpop. Yes. There's another revelation. Didn't know that, did you? Well, here we are. She's revealing everything. So thank you for your time. If you stayed with me all the way through, enjoy the rest of the podcast. It's almost finished, and it's been a pleasure having you here with me. I'm going to leave you with Speak on Stage and a view of some of the testimonials that people have shared with me on my legacy. Meanwhile, have the most amazing day wherever you're doing, and be kind to people around you. You never know what they're going through, but most of all, be kind to yourself, because you don't deserve to beat yourself up. Life is too short. You can jump and grow wings on the way down and reinvent yourself every single day. So just do it. That's it from me. Thank you for your time. Have the most amazing, amazing experience. Until next time on Speak on Stage.
I have been participating in Dave Crane's Industry Icon program. Dave Crane is one of the best coaches in the industry.
One of the most knowledgeable speakers I know.
I was so impressed.
He shared the stage with celebrities, athletes, politicians, and royalty.
You've been an inspiration to me since the first time I saw you on LinkedIn, man.
New prospects should know that you are a world-class broadcaster.
He's a true professional. He operates from his heart, and he always speaks his truth.
Where do I begin?
I looked around the room, and all I could see was eyes on you, ears on you. You could have heard a pencil drop.
Dave is someone who is a limitless thinker with a big heart.
And his industry icon program helps coach great leaders into becoming great speakers.
It's helped me improve my image online. Everyone I know that's worked with you says the same thing. It's helped me improve my presentation and speaking abilities.
Clarity, clarity, and clarity.
But more importantly, it's helped me to have a crystal clear message in what benefit I can add to my audience.
You know, I'm in TV, and so people assume that, you know, speaking in front of crowds is easy. But I'm on a set, and it's very different to go from a closed set to speaking to a live audience.
Now, because of Dave, I totally get it. I totally get why it's important, and I totally get that I can do it too.
I have been participating in.
Thank you for tuning in to another insightful episode of Speak on Stage with Dave Crane. We hope you found today's conversation inspiring and packed with valuable insights to help you to amplify your presence on stage too. And if you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to the podcast on your favorite platform and leave us a review. Your feedback helps us improve and reach more aspiring speakers just like yourself. Remember, the stage is your platform to shine. And with the right tools and mindset, you can captivate any audience anywhere. So keep honing your craft, refining your message, and never shy away from the spotlight. Stay tuned for our next episode, where we'll dive even deeper into the world of public speaking and performance. Until then, keep speaking, keep shining, and keep making an impact. This is Dave Crane signing off. See you next time. Speak on Stage.